Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told how to voice the radio. So today we've got a new super rare from Crimson Haze to be having a chat about. And we've got a really nice looking stage 1 from Crimson Haze to be having a chat about. So let's start off with the secret rare. We've got ourselves a full art Perin, literally just been revealed as I record this video. There was a live stream over in Japan where they showed off some damage counters for a weirdly long period of time, and then showed us this. And look, if you played the DLC, Perin is awesome, and big part of the game, very nice. If you haven't played the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, you're going to be like, who? And that's okay. You don't need to know everybody, but Perin is a photographer, obviously, as you can see, who plays a big role in the DLC, and is frankly pretty gosh darned awesome. And the card is rather nice. What we've got here is a card that basically lets you take 2 Pokemon in your hand, show them to your opponent, shuffle them into your deck, and then go and search 2 other Pokemon and then put them into your hand. Basically, it's double Pokemon communication as a supporter card. Simple as that. You get yourself 2 Pokemon that you do want, after having given up 2 Pokemon that you don't want. It's kind of cool, honestly. It's a really good card. There is a very fair question to be asked about whether people are actually really going to play it as a supporter card, and the answer is, I don't know. Sorry, I wish I could give you the answer. The honest answer is, I'm afraid I really don't know. It's a very cool card, and certainly it is going to help decks that are very hungry for Pokemon. But there is a very fair point to be raised about the fact that actually it's not really drawing you cards, it's just getting your Pokemon. Is it enough for your supporter for the turn? It's going to depend on the deck. Pokemon Communication was a great card that saw a huge amount of play, but Pokemon Communication was also a card that was an item card. And the thing about item cards is they can be played whenever, that's good, yay. Whereas supporter cards, they're once per turn, they're a little bit awkward. So I do think it's got some utility. I do think it's a decent card. I do think it will see play. I don't think it's going to be a staple in every deck. One thing I do adore here, though, if you have a little bit of a look, Naoki Sato has actually done both the regular and the full art here. I love this. I love when they let the artist do the full art of the card they did the regular. This is not something that happens all the time. Obviously, Saito's been a very prolific artist, phenomenal artist, so it makes sense that they would essentially be trusted to do this. It just makes me very happy. Also worth pointing out, this is a secret rare. This is a full art. It is not a special illustration rare. You can tell partly by looking at the card, because it's the design of it looks like a full art, but also the rarity symbol there is SR, not SAR, special art rare, and that's how you can tell. SR is the full art in Japanese, SAR is a special illustration rare, and there's your answer, essentially. It's a very cool card, it's one that people are going to like, but make no mistake about it, it is a character who's likely to get a special illustration rare, and that one could be big. Also, I told you that you don't often see the full art being done by the same person who did the regular art, and I still think that's true, incidentally, but maybe not for this particular artist. Paldean Student from Paldean Fates, the Violet version, Tulip from Paradox Rift, Ortega from Obsidian Flames, all examples of Saito doing the regular art and the full art, which I find very interesting indeed. But then again, if we look at Tulip, did not do the special illustration rare, that was Akira Igawa, so, just something to bear in mind. If there is a special illustration rare, probably a different artist. But I told you there was a new Farigiraf, and there is a new Farigiraf, and I like this new Farigiraf. There is a new Girafarig as well, I suppose. It's not terrible. Single energy, 30 to the active, 10 to one of your opponent's bench. It's not phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination, but actually the idea here that you can be spreading, admittedly a very small amount, but still spreading some damage while hitting the active, and your psychics, you'll be hitting some stuff for weakness. You know what? It's not terrible. I ain't saying it's great. I want that on the record. I am not saying it's great. But I absolutely am saying that it is interesting. There we go. But the Farigiraf, I absolutely adore the Farigiraf. I think it is phenomenal. It is exactly my kind of card. What we've got here is, well, there's actually 2 attacks, but one I'm not excited about. 3 energy for 80 plus confusion. Nah, mate. Not for me. Don't like it. Not interested. Not excited. Let's move on. But the first attack here, medium rumble. Oh, I like this. What we've got is 2 colourless energy, and it does 40 damage for each of your stage 1 Pokemon in play. And there's so much I love about this card, but partly it is colourless energy, and it doesn't matter what stage 1s they are. So you could look at this and go, you know what? I'm feeling in a psychic-y kind of mood. This works beautifully with Xatu. Remember, Xatu, of course, will allow you to attach psychic energy while drawing cards, and it is, of course, a stage 1. It was one of the pre-release promos of Paradox Rift. It's a very cool card. So you could go down that route and go psychic, but you absolutely don't have to. If you've got a full bench of stage 1s, that's 240 damage, and you can either use any energy acceleration you like, or you can use, for instance, double turbo, which will knock it down to 220, but 220 is the magic number for Pokemon V. Just remember there are a bunch of basic EXs, Roaring Moon comes to mind, where they actually do have 230 HP. So nowadays, whereas in the past, really pre-Scarlet and Violet, 220 really was enough. Nowadays, 220 will fall short sometimes. You really want to be aiming for 230. But it's colourless energy. And the thing is, there's a lot of these, like the new Koraidon, for instance, which incidentally is also a pre-release promo I showed you the other day. The thing about Koraidon is, it is 30 damage for each of your ancient Pokemon in play, which in theory is 180 damage, but not really, because I'm going to want some kind of draw engine here. You usually want some kind of draw engine. So that's a little bit of a pain, because there's no ancient draw engine. Well, here, Bibarel. There you go. Boom. Sorted. Oh, look, it's a stage 1 Pokemon that draws me a bunch of cards, and that's kind of the point here. If I want energy acceleration, I can potentially use a stage 1 like Xatu. If I want to draw cards, I can use a stage 1 like Bibarel, for instance. And that's why I love this so much. Generally speaking, cards like this, and Koraidon is a prime example, they generally lock you into playing a type of Pokemon that you can't necessarily rely on. And you end up limiting your damage output because you almost get forced into having to play other Pokemon or having a suboptimal deck or bench, however you want to phrase it. Whereas here, you can get a stage 1 to do whatever you like. But it's also colourless energy. So you can look at all those lovely stage 1 Pokemon you've been wanting to have a bit of a play with and go, hang on a second, now I can play with them. I mean, what you could do is go really dumb here and go for your draw engine as something like a Curlier. Just have Curlier sitting there as your draw engine, turn after turn after turn, just drawing a ridiculous amount of cards as a stage 1 and boosting up your, damage on your Farigiraf. But then maybe at some point you really want to start attacking with a Gardevoir, for instance. Well, you can. Or a Gallade. And you can use this as a kind of, look, I'm sitting here rocking with my stage 1s, but if you can find a good stage 1 that evolves, take a Metang for instance, Metang evolves into a Metagross, but it's also got a really nice ability that accelerates metal energy, and then all of a sudden you've got stage 2 options that you don't have to use, but you can use later down the line if you want. That is why I adore this card so very, very much. Because it's colourless energy, and because it's any stage 1s, I can just sit here and use anything that I like. Any energy acceleration, any draw engine, as long as it's stage 1, any attacker. I can play a bunch of different types of Pokemon. I can mix and match however I like. It doesn't matter. And for that, I absolutely adore it. And the really exciting thing is not just what we've got now, but what we've got in the future. The Gallade I showed you earlier, attacking-wise, is not particularly great, but it does let you search for a supporter card. And we don't really have a good Gardevoir as an attacker right now. But we may well have in the future. We're probably going to get more Gardevoir. Gardevoir's like a favourite of Pokemon. They're going to print more, right? And there's going to be more Stage 1s. There's going to be lots of Stage 1s in every single set Pokemon release. And that's kind of my point. Maybe this is finally the deck that makes Scizor a thing. I don't know. Could be. I want it to be a thing. How about at the weekend when we saw Steelix Dodrio actually doing well on a stream? That was weird. They're also both Stage 1s. I'm not saying you go and put Farigiraf in there. I'm saying you can go and put Farigiraf in there. I adore this card. I'm giving it 5 Wassies. I am going to be building with this. And maybe it is the new Scizor, where I just test over and over again and it never ends up being good enough. Or maybe this ends up being a game changer. Either way, I'm excited, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Andy White, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.